Alright guys, in this quick video I wanted to share some of the different Yamahas that I own. There's a couple more not pictured, particularly the Tri Z from 1986 that some of you guys have seen in my video feed going back probably about 5 years. It's one of my favorite bikes. That's a 250cc three-wheeler, but I thought I'd go through kind of some of the bikes here. Y'all have seen them. A lot of you that are, know the channel pretty well, but I kind of go through each of them a little bit. This is a YZ250X. It's a 2018. Got this from a really great seller in Louisiana. And this bike, I did go through and make some adjustments to. A few things that I'll kind of note here. It's got an Apex head on it because these Yamahas, even going into 2018 and maybe even the ones today, commonly have head issues, which is just crazy to me, but they've got interchangeable domes based on what you want to do, SX or I think MX or, like Enduro Woods. And what I did with this bike was I actually put a Cisco's spring on it, which basically is a softer power valve spring. It's a company out of Australia called Cisco's Racing. They sell a spring for about $40 plus shipping. And it basically lets the power valve gradually open up, almost in the same type of thinking as the hitless system. Although I don't want to, say it's exactly the same because it's probably not. But it for $40 makes an incredible difference. You don't get that stupid mid-range hit that just comes out of nowhere. Makes the bike extremely tractable, powerful. Also added a Boys and Reed rad valve system. And advance the timing, and it's just a beast. I mean, it feels to me almost like an open class bike, honestly. It's a monster. Next bike, as you guys know, is the WR500, and this bike is one I got about 2 years ago from a pretty awesome seller in Montana, and this bike was shipped to me. Beautiful bike, was in great shape. Had some paint on the plastics, but I changed the plastics up, and cleaned the tank, polished it, got the decals, I think from YZ Decals. I think they're out of Australia, if I'm not mistaken. I need to seal the gas tank with some Clark epoxy, and then I can, run gas through it. Pretty much all I've done at this point is just use a little gravity-fed feeder. But this is the infamous WR, rumored to be only one of 10,000 or 1,000 imported. I don't know. To be honest, what the story is on how many WRs were produced. Maybe y'all could figure that out. But I do know that this is the second generation YZ490 motor. And one thing about it, you've got 6 bolts on the reed cage here. So that's the thing. You've got a different head. I think you've got one more mounting stud or head bolt to basically hold this together, plus, and make sure it doesn't leak. But also you've got some things they did to minimize vibration. On the other side, they've got like a little adjustable nut and some other things. And porting is a little different, but most obviously, we've got basically the YZ250 chassis of the day. So that's a big upgrade, fantastic chassis. It's pretty much basically the first 500 AF, 490 AF, Honda, like they did with the service Hondas. This is like the first one. That's what they did. Stuck a 500 in the 250 frame, and it's a beauty. It's a beauty. So yeah, that's that bike. And honestly, those two are very similar in terms of kind of the body and the way they feel, the slimness. So let's go to the IT. I think if y'all been watching the channel recently, of course, I've been working on this bike. I love Yamahas. I love Hondas. I love them all, but Yamahas they're just cool. I don't know what it is about them. Maybe y'all can tell me. Yamaha's just cool. I don't know. They always seem kind of spacey to me, and they're always a little bit ahead of their time with styling. They also just kind of go crazy with colors. They're willing to take chances on some color. They're just cool bikes. Like Hondas are awesome. I think Hondas are tremendous high quality bikes, but Yamahas are just freaking cool. All right, so IT490. Finish her up. I think I've said enough about it. Side port design, 4 bolt reed cage on that. Still, of course, the boost bottle and all that stuff. Lower end here is the same like the WR, so I wouldn't be surprised if you could at some point literally take that bottom end, stick the cylinder from that on that. And if you could, you know, not necessarily have an issue with the pipe on the center port with this frame, you could probably run it. So like you could take that bottom end and probably put that cylinder on it and run it on that bike. Probably would fit. Y'all verify that for me. But yeah, the bike's awesome. We're definitely going to be taking that out. I'm super excited. All I can say is I did notice the porting is definitely different between the IT490 and the YZ490 of the time. So the 83 YZ490 had the side port motor that they ran for a number of years on the 465 and otherwise. And the 8384 IT490 ran the side port as well. So I have an 83 YZ490 cylinder. I'm going to bolt on this thing and see what it does. Apparently that's the bee's knees or cat's meow or the absolute psychopath to go. But we'll see. We do know that these have the same flywheel, but I think a heavier crank, so it kind of slows down the spin. And with the little added horsepower, or a lot of added horsepower of the YZ cylinder, this could be just totally an amazing setup. But I'll tell you, this motor, as it is, Dirt Bike said, was a magic motor. And that was with the restrictors that, you know, these came with in the exhaust, which took off about 4 horsepower. So we'll see. We don't know yet. This is the little DT50. And I guess I should probably, just let y'all know there's something under there. I'm probably not going to get her out in this video, but that's a 2001 CR500. And that is quite a special bike. Quite a bike that a lot of people have been talking about lately, especially since Kaplan had one in a crate, I believe, that sold for a pretty big amount of money. But these are just wickedly nice. And I did a whole restoration on this bike. Wasn't much to do. I mean, it was all cosmetic, honestly, but just, you know, making it look kind of a little more like it hadn't been used. And this bike is incredible. Got this out of a guy in Texas, really great gentleman. And this still has a lot of the original manufacturer, you know, spec marks, like where they go with the pen and they mark up, you know, little areas. That's the original sprocket. I mean, look at that. Just incredible. I cleaned up the swing arm and basically repaired, you know, a little divot, but incredible. Rebuilt the shock. Just awesome. So yeah, that bike is one I'd love to basically have out, and I have not ridden that thing yet, so I will be working on that. So let's get to the one I was going to talk about here. Little DT50, got this from a guy in Texas. This bike was a complete mess. You probably remember it. It was the Ugly Duckling. Was wondering what in the world I got myself into. And honestly, spent a little time on her, and the bottom end was tight. I was so surprised and happy. She had a crank seal leak on the wet side, which is the, you know, wet side, yeah, crank. And once that was done and she cleaned out, she ran great. Sent the cylinder off to Accurate Cylinder and Sleeve out of Conroe, Texas. So they will take your stuff. So check them out, Accurate Cylinder and Sleeve. And bike runs amazing. Just fantastic. Repainted the tank. Got decals out of Portugal. Found this color, which is basically bluish green solid. Still available through the, I can't remember the name of the company that provided those paints, but they're awesome, and they got that to me. Just love it. The only thing I had to do, which honestly has not been a problem whatsoever because I prepped it really well, is I had to actually paint these fenders because you cannot find these gray Yamaha fenders anymore. These are not white, these are gray. That's what they used, and that was the year that they did this on the Blaster and some of the other bikes. I think maybe the TW200, they did this teal mint seat with gray fenders. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, they were the first, right? And I thought KTM was the first with the mint, but nope. And the last bike, but not the least, is my first dirt bike ever, DT50. And this bike I got back in the 90s, early 90s. My dad bought it for like 150 bucks. And I had this at the farm, sitting in the barn, pretty much just becoming just a complete piece of junk. And I think, about a year and a half ago, decided it was time to do something and pull her out of the barn. I checked the bottom end, and made sure that the bottom end was tight. And, you know, that was like the decision. I was like, well, look, I got to take care of this thing and fix it. Bottom end's tight, and sure, the cylinder has very low compression because I knew it just didn't run very well, you know, and did that, and it's done. So that bike has been just a real pleasure. And again, the Portugal connection with these DT50s is that they were in production there for a number of years. Same with Japan. So whereas we only had them here from, I think, 88, 89, and 90, over in Europe and different places like that, they were around since the early 80s, and they continued until I think the early 2000s. So there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of parts. You can go to some different like a Japanese auction website. You can find a ton of parts, but they're just fun bikes. I mean, these are great. I wouldn't take it on a motocross track, but these are so awesome for just scooting around the neighborhood and checking on your kids, or taking a little stroll. I mean, you can bump start it. You can start it with just your hand. I mean, they're just great. They're so easy. I mean, let me just show you. They're so fun here. You probably see me do this over and over again, but you know, why not? So I was draining the float bowl, so she might run a little quick there. But yeah, they're great bikes. And I mean, compare starting that to something like this. You know, with these big bikes, I mean, you pretty much have to psych yourself up. You know, one mistake, one missed kick, you know, shear an ankle, or, you know, rip an Achilles tendon. I mean, they're just beastly bikes, but yeah, these are so easy. So yeah, I tend to ride these a lot around the neighborhood, and we've got a few more here and there. You know, there's a whole other group there that, you know, I've talked about, and I'd love to get those out. But yeah, these were all the Yamahas decided to do that. And unfortunately, the Tri Z is kind of sitting under a bunch of stuff, but that is one of my absolute favorite bikes right there. And that video has something like 27,000 views. But what's really cool is not that a bunch of people saw it, that the original owner that sold that bike to me actually saw the video, kind of recognized me and said, I think that's the guy. And the funny story was that whole bike was in parts, and I thought, you know, it was going to be complete, but I trusted him. He was totally legit, and it was not very much at the time that I spent. I want to say it was between $600 to $800, but it was in parts, you know, and I didn't know if it ran. It was all in boxes. And it did. You know, once I put it together, kicked your overs, done. Bike started, and what I did with this bike was, there was a guy on Three Wheeler World, and I ended up finding him. He did the phase 1 wrench report mods, including, you know, the famous Yamaha deal where they cut the pipe and you re-weld it and all of that kind of stuff, plus some porting. I think I put a 36 millimeter PWK carb in there, and it definitely woke the bike up. It definitely woke it up. I would say it's definitely on par now with the 86 250R. And has a much better bottom end, and I think a much broader power band, to be honest. It's those phase 1 mods were totally legit. So yeah, that 86 is a killer bike, really great. And, you know, I always say the three-wheeler ATV News test, that bike actually beat the 250R. So yeah, very cool bikes, very fun stuff. I've got a few more over there. KTMs and Kawasaki's, but fun stuff, great bikes, love my Yamahas. And I guess it's Yamaha Day here at Off-Road Universe Vintage Restoration Moto. We're having fun. We love the Yamis. They're awesome. Hit me a comment or like if you like Yamahas or you like big bores, and if you want to see more of this stuff, including maybe the video comparison of this bike and this bike with a riding cam, and I'll just pretty much tell you my seat of the pants impression. And then, wow, in a little while, I'll stick that YZ cylinder on there when I feel confident that I've got all the jetting and everything squared away. Then I'm going to have to go and rejet, right, for the YZ, and I'll probably ask Tom Morgan what he suspects the jetting would be. He'll give me some good baselines. Find the Mikuni jets, because that YZ cylinder is going to be pulling a hell of a lot more through that carb, and we don't want to be lean, and then try that, and that could just be the motor of absolute doom and legend. So we'll see. Should be fun. And, you know, would it run on par with this? That's a big question. A lot of people say they're pretty close, But I think the WR is, the IT is tuned down a little. I do think it's tuned a little, but I'm not so sure that the changes to the YZ really made that much of a difference, you know, in terms of the read and side port, center port. I don't think anyone ever said the 82, 83 YZ was slow. In fact, I think a lot of people said that bike was phenomenal. But we'll see. You know, the open class changed, and as it went up against newer and newer bikes, you know, it wasn't as impressive. But in 83, the YZ had the best motor, and also I think in 84. So, you know, we'll see. Interesting facts. Oh, no, 82, 83 had the best motor. Maybe 84. But then again, once the 85 CR500 came out and the Kawasaki went to its liquid cooling, I mean, that's, you know, all bets are off at that point. All right, guys, you know I could talk about this all day. I love it so much. Pure happiness right here in the garage. All Yamis. Love it. We'll see you soon. If you want to watch the video or imagine the smell of castor oil or super technoplate, I can smell it right now just from that little 50. Hit like and subscribe.